Hey, what's going on, everybody? On this week's episode of the Onward podcast with KW Reston, we sit down with Dave Donaldson and Joe Martin with KW the Virginias and Kyle Holloran with the KW Alliance Group. We have a great conversation about starting a business, entrepreneurship, the current real estate market, and how Keller Williams can help you build your business in a shifting market.
This is awesome.
Okay, so on today's podcast, I'm here with Kyle Holloran. He's with Keller Williams, the Alliance Group. He is the general manager for the five market centers in Northern Virginia. I'm also here with Joe Martin. He is the area director for KW Virginias, and Dave Donaldson, the regional tech trainer for KW Virginias. How's it going, gents?
Good. How we doing?
Doing well.
That could be better. I mean, I'm looking to close out my Friday with you guys. Like,
Right?
I'm just really excited,
Right?
Getting ready to head down to Mega Camp here in Austin next week. So
Yeah, so I want to talk
ready.
to you guys a little bit about that. So Mega Camp is coming. For those out there that don't know what KW Mega Camp is, Keller Williams holds two large events where all of KWRI, so Keller Williams International, gets together, and we learn from Gary Keller. We have breakout sessions. We get kind of the state of the union, and we talk about the market and things like that. So what does Mega Camp mean for you guys? Well, why do you guys like? I went to my first in-person big KWRI event was Family Reunion this past year, and I won't miss it again. Not only you get the breakouts and the conversation, but the networking and seeing people from all around the country that do what you do, and having those network relationships and referrals and things like that is just a lot of fun. So for you guys, like, what does this mean for you guys? What do you guys take out of going down to Mega Camp?
For me, I've always gotten a little bit more. Mega Camp, it's a little bit smaller, not much smaller. I mean, we're still talking about 10,000 agents being on location, but there isn't as many breakouts, right? So there's a more collaborative environment where everybody's kind of still together. And I don't know, there's always been a little bit different feel with it being in Austin, being down where Keller Williams started. And I've kind of enjoyed that feel and flavor to it. For me, Family Reunion has just been more of a social event for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with Mega Camp, the whole idea that your net worth is in your network, right? That you're also taking yourself out of being the small fish and putting yourself into a big pond, right? Is when you get out to Mega Camp. Because you got people that are doing, you're like, hey, I'm doing 500 transactions here in Northern Virginia, but then you go to Mega Camp, there's people doing like 10,000 units, and they got like 30 people on their team, and you're like, oh, I'm king, pardon my French, king shit out here. But like, that's what ends up happening. You realize, oh, like, I just get put in check and realize there's somebody that is destroying what my lid is on my business, and I want to be in there to be humbled by the person saying that, hey, this is how I did it, this is how I can learn. Because great, you can read a book, you can take a podcast lesson, you can go on some online learning thing, but it's until I get to meet with Kyle and understand how he did 10,000 transactions with his model and system, because I've learned from my 10 years in KW that I'm not the smartest person on the face of the earth, and I'd rather rip off and duplicate. And I think the benefit of Mega Camp is that, to be able to learn from somebody that's doing it higher. And then also for real estate agents, a lot of our time is spent in the business, and you got your head down grinding, like, how do I take the next listing, how do I get the next buyer under contract, how do I just keep grinding on that 30-day cycle. And Mega Camp is a forced reset, for me at least, to say, how do I work on the business, how do I go to industry leaders like Gary Keller and see what are they foreseeing in the next 12, 36 months that I need to be integrated into my business. So not only are you like resetting yourself from just an energy piece, but then you're also saying, like, what do I need to be aware of so that I can be ahead of the curve for whatever changes need to happen in the industry.
Right.
Yeah, Ryan, it's interesting you said that you really bought in when you got down to Family Reunion this past year, because I can remember about 10 or 12 years ago now when I went to my first Family Reunion, which was in Orlando. It created a much bigger vision for my business and even Keller Williams. And I really realized, this was a company that I definitely wanted to partner with. And as these guys said, it was a break from my business, kind of the daily grind and just, doing the activities every single day. I think at some point it's smart to take a step back, kind of be outside the picture, think about your business, and give you kind of time to kind of step away from it. So as these guys said, I have friends and referral partners now all across the country. And those are from, a happy hour that I attended at one of these major conferences. So if you haven't been to one yet, I think, obviously I'm proud of what we have at our market centers back here. But I think the energy and kind of the high, truly, that you come back on, like you're ready to dominate the world when you get down there in that productive environment. So, it's your classic iron sharpens iron, and it's the best place to be if you're in the industry for those 3 days, no doubt.
What I really like, what I think is actually cool, just kind of in general, like the culture within Keller Williams, for the most part, everybody is really inclusive and really, they will share with you about their business and how they got there. I mean, nobody's like, holding secrets real tight. Like, I'm not going to share and tell you what I did to be successful. So going down there and hearing from people that do what you do and do it at a really high level has been really, really cool. So, pull back a little bit to talk a little bit on, Keller Williams, the Virginias. What are you guys seeing out there in the market in Northern Virginia? We'll say Northern Virginia, at least right now, because that's where we are. What are you guys seeing in the market right now as far as, buyers and sellers? Are things slowing down? And then what do you guys think, or what are you guys talking to your agents about to deal with their business in a shift like this? What are you coaching your agents on right now?
What do you got, Dave?
All right, so for me, it's an interesting when we talk about shift, right? And I've been talking to a lot of agents about how to not lose yourself in all the noise of everything that's going on around you. Focus on your business, focus on your spheres, focus on those relationships, and keep driving forward. Yeah, obviously things are continuously changing. We had that rocket ship uptick over the last couple of years, right? Yeah. And things are leveling off. But at the same time, while interest rates have gone up, you're talking 5 to 5.5. They even dipped below 4 the other day, right? So how much is that really affecting things outside of mindset for people, right? There's still not enough listings on the market. Buyers have kind of stepped back, but it is August. Right, so I think we're going to still see sales volume kind of hold steady, and we're going to deal with the same type of challenges we had of still surplus, lack thereof.
Right. So I had that conversation with a client actually this week. They asked that same question. They're like, "Oh, you're expecting a dip in the market?" And I actually don't think so. Right? I mean, if we could all predict the real estate market, I'm sure we'd all be sitting on a beach somewhere.
Of course.
Right? But it all indicates. So what determines the pricing of a home and the ebb and flow of the housing market? A lot of that is supply and demand, right?
Yep.
So there's 20 million millennials entering the buying age, and they all have money. So and they need places to live and things like that. So you're seeing, I think we'll continue to see the market go up. I think you've seen rents like skyrocket, because once people can't, they figure out like, oh man, the home pricing is going up, and so then you see all the rents and stuff go up because they still need a place to live. So I actually think the market, at least for the next year, maybe two, should continue to climb. Maybe not like it was the last couple years, but I do think that it should continue to go up. Are you guys seeing that too?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. Someone said one time, it kind of stuck with me here, where the speed limit's 60, we've been going 100, and now we're down to 80, right? So it feels different, but we're still in a very strong market. I think the thing I'm imploring to agents right now is to really focus on their strategies. And if you're doing the same tasks every single day that you've been doing the last 2 years, those things may not work anymore, right? If you think about even on the buyer side, the move up, move down buyers, if someone has a 2.5% interest rate, it's going to be a little bit tough of a decision to make a move unless they have to. First-time home buyers, though, they don't have an interest rate right now, right? So 5% to them doesn't matter as much as it does to someone at 2.5. So I think people just need to get professional. I think that right now is the time where we're going to see the difference between those that run this as a business and actually have a business versus those that are kind of doing it as a hobby, because it won't work in the same capacity. So that's the thing I'm stressing. I think we have a strong market. Inventory's not going up as high as it was in the early summer. We saw big jumps in June and July, and it seems to be leveling out, and that might be seasonal. And it also might just be, that's just where we're going to reset a little bit. So I think we're going to start out next year a great year. Obviously, a lot of things could change that. But I'm excited, and I think agents have an opportunity here that when everyone else is kind of resting back on their laurels or not putting in the time and effort, like they can get it done. And I think it's time for them to jump in and really get going.
Right.
I think I'm a big numbers nerd, so like finance background, all that kind of stuff. My only slogan on this whole thing is that marry the house, date the rate. I think that's like the big slogan that everybody that's a buyer or seller, like a buyer, needs to understand, is that fall in love with the property, because real estate's finite. And when you're in an inflationary market that we're at right now, so like everyone's cheering that we're at 8.5% inflation on the CPI, or Consumer Price Index, we still have an 8.5% inflation challenge here, right? And real estate is a commodity that what most investors consider a alternative investment strategy, right? Because it's not traded on Wall Street. But here's the insight on this one. If you want to really get into like some 10,000 foot, like what's Wall Street doing with all this inflationary stuff. So the reason I say everybody just marry the house, find the property, find the location, find the travel, find all the amenities that are around it, and understanding that by buying the house, not only are you getting the tax write-offs, you're getting the fact that you're in your property, you're controlling the cost of it, you can actually borrow against it, you can potentially rent against it, right? All these different things that become beneficial when you're creating wealth. So when you look at that and then you say, great, there's two things that everybody on this listen to this episode should know about. Is a company called Flow. So our good buddy that failed miserably at WeWork, Andrew Newman, has now raised $350 million in capital to go open up a company that's going to do basically rent-to-own properties. When he got released into the world of opportunity from WeWork, he went out on a $90 million buying spree of houses anywhere from New York City to California, and that's where he deployed his capital. He owns 4,000 affordable housing units. So you just took somebody in Wall Street, just deploy all their capital into housing, right? And they don't usually bet wrong, right? Mm-hmm. There's another company that's they're actually monetizing residential real estate as if they were shares in a stock of a company. And what they're doing is you can invest in the homes with as little as $100 a share, and you're locked in for 5 to 7 years on it, and you get about a 3% quarterly dividend on like the cash flow on it. So they're basically taking care of property management, your down payment, all that kind of stuff. But if Wall Street is figuring out ways to go into residential real estate because they haven't done it yet, they're seeing that as the inflationary hedge from a commodity investment. So like that's the piece that gets me fired up, is that like they're going to move their capital into stuff that's going to make money. Right. And this challenging part with all that is that now you're going to cause an even bigger gap in disparity on wealth creation for home ownership from like low income to high net worth people. And I think if anyone wanted to take a thing is like go call a real estate agent inside KW Reston, find out where you can buy a home. There's tons of lending programs to get first time home buyers in it, and buy now, because it's buy and wait for your wealth creation. Right. And then you're guaranteeing the home that you want for the next 10, 20 years, and that thing is going to be a forced savings account for you.
Right. Yeah, with the rate, I think it's really interesting over the last 2 years. People's getting 2.5. I've seen the low twos. Now we're at 5 or 5.5. For everybody that's seen that, or new people that are newer buyers, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like 5.5, still pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Historically, pretty good. Like if you were to ask, you guys, I mean, you've seen 8. My parents, I think they were in the teens or something when they first bought. Like 5, pretty good. For everybody out there in the world, 5 is still pretty good. And like you said, you're not marrying the rate. You can always refinance, but the financial advantages to buying now are huge with the tax breaks and the equity that you're hopefully going to be able to get on some of that stuff. Kind of going back to what Kyle said about the agents and the market and how you kind of perform right now. I do think, and I have told this to my agents, I think this is a really good opportunity for the pros to shine. I think the fly-by-nights, right, the part-time agent, the guy who's like, oh my gosh, it's hot, I'm going to get into real estate over the next couple of years, and they'll stick their sign in the yard, and 100 people will come run into it and offer you $100,000 over ask. Well, that's gone. But I think it's a really good opportunity for the pros to shine. Back is negotiating. I negotiated a contract this weekend. Okay, that's a skill set. And if you're not a pro, you don't have that skill, right? Home inspections, they are a thing again. Seller concessions, they are a thing again. And if you don't know about that, I think this is a really good time for the pros to step up and really take back some of the business from the part-times. But I also think that for newer agents, it's an opportunity to get in. If you get in and surround yourself with really good people that know what they're doing, that can help you build your business, you can too, show that you are a professional and you know what you're talking about. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity for experienced and newer agents alike.
I think it's one of the best times actually for newer agents. I came in the market in real estate, graduated college in 2009 and got my license that fall. And it was still a tough market. It was the opposite of what we're in right now. There was 9 houses for sale in every neighborhood, and pick one and offer whatever you want for it. The advantage I have is, and I remember people telling me like, hey, if you can make it through this year, next year, like when the market shifts back again, you're going to be in that lead position. And so, I did. I kind of took advantage of it and just said like, I just assumed that was normal, right? Which actually created me to fight and like try to find deals and really dig. And so when the market did turn around, I was in a position to do really well. And so I think it's the same thing actually. As the agents that maybe came in 2 years ago, to me, are the ones with the biggest disadvantage, probably, right? They were into a market that was easy compared to the traditional market, and they're going to be ones I think that have the most shock. But I think being surrounded by leaders like yourself, I mean, we've been talking about for a year at a regional level, at a market center level, plan for the market you're going into, not the one that you're currently in. So if you considered that and took it to heart, you're going to be in a better position right now than those agents who just looked up a month ago and said, "Uh-oh, what do I need to do now?" Yeah. Right. So I think massive opportunity both ways.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, you can't run your business by watching the news. Right. You can't pay attention to what the talking heads are saying because they want to create panic and chaos out on the street. Right. It's sensationalism. But they come in the office and they talk to the ones that have been here. I mean, you can be a new agent and be the pro that you were leading to if they inform themselves, they get educated. I got licensed in 2007, so that was an incredible education experience, right? But I came in every day and surrounded myself by those that were in the know, and I learned, and I listened, and I did the work.
Right. The advantage we all have, too, is that we get to see deals on a daily basis, right? Like, we see transactions coming in, whether it be compliance, closings, et cetera. There's no doubt this market's moving. Right. We're in a really nice area here in Northern Virginia. Maybe other areas of Virginia are different. You guys would know that better than us here. But no, it's a strong market. If friends call me and say, it's now the time, jump in. Yep. There's no hesitation in my mind to say that. And to Joe's point, I think we know long term the appreciation of real estate and what position I can get you into.
Right. Hey guys, if you like this content and you find it helpful for your business, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about technology and Keller Williams and what they're kind of offering right now. What are some of the tools, to Dave, what are some of the tools that agents have out there available through Keller Williams to help with their business, to streamline their business and just make everything go a little bit smoother?
It's just a matter of the leverage, right? We talk about technology, and what's important to understand that technology is not a replacement for anything. It's an enhancement. It's leverage to doing your business, right? It's not going to make you a mega agent if you don't do the work, right? It's not going to lead generate and create all kinds of revenue streams. If you do the work and you talk to people, like I talk to agents all day, I'm like, how often do you talk to your phone? The phone's at the center of your transaction, right? So your command technology, your mobile app's on the grow, right? I call them on the grow because you're building your businesses on the fly, right? But talking to your agents, tracking your communication, or talking with your consumers, knowing what they're looking at. When we just launched on the mobile app today, we added 4 new countries: Spain, Portugal, Vietnam, and
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, thank you. So I just texted another agent that I talked to last month, and I said, hey, wait for it. We're going to have Vietnam real soon because it goes over there 2-3 times a year. So your consumers now using your mobile app in worldwide country situations, right? Think about this. Our clients travel all over the world, and what instinctively do? They look at real estate.
All the time.
Right? I mean, everywhere you go, you see a sign, you go, I wonder. I do it everywhere I go. So coaching our consumers to use our tools so you can be in space with them, right? And now every time you call them, last time I talked to them, right? All that communication, and then at the same time, you get to be in communication with a consistent and deliberate and purposeful manner. We came up, and we talked about switching from 07 real quick. There was a lot of technological things that happened. So you did things in bulk, and things got watered down, whether it's email or text messages, everything. And we lost the personalization, everything. Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about this, right? But now with the technology that we're able to incorporate, you can send things out from you that's still purposeful and deliberate, but sounds like it's from you to you without canned responses, right? There's a myriad of things that agents can leverage, but starting with a fully functional database is the most important part.
Right. So I think, so you talked about, just being able to do the activities. So we do have some really cool technology, right? So we have KW Command, and that's our built-in CRM and transaction management system. And you can do everything you need to do. You can send mass emails, you can send mass text messages, all that fun stuff. And it really does streamline your business as long as you have a good database to be able to reach out to. They're great tools to go out. But if you're not doing like the basic realtor skills,
right,
like with the lead gen, it doesn't really matter, right?
If you're not talking to people, then what does it matter?
Right.
Yeah. And to your point, like that's the point of those things is, a lot of people get in this industry because they need a little bit more flexibility, whether it be kids or you're running off to this or that. To have that mobile app in your hands while you're sitting there waiting for hockey practice in Dave's account, right? He can jump on there and he can text 4 or 5 people in his database and check in. It logs automatically that he's reached out to them. So using some of that downtime is like the little things that may move your business forward where, instead of listening to sports radio for 10 minutes, jump on your command app, get some things done, and all of a sudden, that's when you get that response of, hey, my daughter's looking to buy a home, and then boom, right? So it's just that technology has been built. The biggest thing is, like Dave said, people just have to use it.
And on the flip side of it, and that's putting the consumer at the center of everything, right? But now with the agents on the go, they have access to their command platform through their command mobile app. So all the calls, all the text messages, all the emails, everything can be done right there. And the system is telling you, hey, here's the people you haven't talked to in 90 days that you need to reach out to. Or here's the people that are on your call plans for this month. Here's the people that have birthdays today. The system's just notifying you automatically in the background, and you're having those purposeful conversations.
Right. That's awesome.
I think there's also like a perspective on like why technology is important, right? So everyone talks about like, oh, what does it do? This doesn't do this doesn't do that, and you get lost in the minutia of like what the actual overall purpose is for technology, because we live in a world where when technology and venture capital comes into an industry, they disrupt it because they're trying to make profit, and they usually go into industries that have high levels of inefficiencies, right? And when you look at technology, the thing that we actually need to be thinking about as real estate agents and as brokers and whatever is that what's best for the consumer, because every business that decides not to be in the business of what's best for the consumer gets eviscerated. So I'll give you a good example of this is just like New York City taxis. Like they were positioned to be the best like facilitator of services for driving around New York City, because all they had to do was adopt technology, be able to split fares, be able to take a credit card, right? Be able to use an app. And they decided, no, we're not going to do that. And then all of a sudden, Uber comes in and says, people want this thing on their phone. And if you don't decide to do it, then we're just going to get taken out. That's the beauty and upside and downside of capitalism. But you have to understand what's best for the consumer. The consumer wants a better experience. And anybody that's been in real estate realizes that if I got to deal with you as the agent and my lender and my title company and my inspector and all the banks and all that kind of stuff, it's an inefficient system. And I think the piece of vision of the future of Keller Williams' technology is to say, how do I keep the agent at the center of the transaction as a fiduciary that can facilitate and deal with the negotiations you're talking about? Because I do believe real estate will always need an agent professional to deal with the negotiations of the hyperlocal market. But what the agent of the future needs is a technology platform to centralize all of their other offerings, and then also anybody that's dealt with tech is that whichever technology platform gets the most user interface wins, because you are actually able to get to that data that then allows for AI to actually integrate into it and actually make predictive analytics, right? So this is like really nerdy 2.0, like down the road of it. But the thing that's different about technology in Keller Williams is that it's not to take the agent out of the transaction to make them functionary or to eventually get rid of them so that it's actually a process. You're saying, hey, we want to empower you as an agent entrepreneur and as a business owner to actually be more efficient, stay in more contact, because everything that's also indicating inside the real estate industry is that costs are going to go up and profit margins are going to go down. So being able to look at how do you do more with less and how do you create efficiencies within a technology platform that doesn't cost you anymore is going to actually be the competitive advantage that every real estate agent is going to need in their business. And I think that bigger why takes out all these complaints about this doesn't do this or doesn't do this or whatever the complaints are. Like, okay, great, get in the weeds of the complaints, but if you don't fix that bigger thing, you're going to have Wall Street venture capital coming in and taking you out, and then you're going to have to go find another job.
Right.
And I think when you look at that and you look at the investment that KW has made over the last half decade now that we've been kind of building our own platform, what most people don't understand is the why we've done it. Right? Venture capital's come in and disrupted our businesses because they've acquired our partners. Sure. Right? So going in and building a platform from scratch for the agents and being able to shift and adjust and incorporate things on an as-needed, on-fly basis a lot faster than those packages that somebody might go and buy off the shelf. And their agents are spending top dollar on a lot of these things. Of course, they don't use everything at their disposal. None of us truly do. But now being able to have something that's built legitimately for you and with your input makes a dramatic amount of difference.
I'll just say this, though. The venture capital person that came in, they just had a $289 million loss in the first half of this year. So let me just make sure we all understand that actually happened, right?
Yeah, for
Both
sure.
ways.
So the purpose of this podcast, our Onward podcast with Keller Williams Reston, we just want to bring in local professionals that talk about real estate. We actually want to bring in other business owners. We think there's a lot of value in just having conversations about just building a business in general. We talked about entrepreneurs, and I know you guys have a separate podcast. So you guys talk to different business owners and real estate agents. Tell me a little bit about that, and what is a little bit of the purpose behind the podcast that you guys do?
Yeah, so like our podcast, and excited and happy to be here as a guest on your Onward podcast, so we can be reciprocal and actually have some fun with this. So we have a podcast called Entrepreneurial Impact, and what I firmly believe is that entrepreneurial people on the ground that are making change, that they actually see it in the community or like on Main Street. This is a problem. This is a gap in service or a gap in value, and I can fix that, right? So you see this with use flipping homes, right? There's a dilapidated home. There's value in this community. My kids go to school here. I pay taxes here. I'm involved in like community, HOA, whatever it may be. So this house has value, but no one's actually injected capital to make it better in that. And that's what happens at the local, like the hyper-local market, is entrepreneurs can see the gaps and then provide that value. So if there's not a local coffee shop, let me go get a local coffee shop inside my community. And now what happens is they invest money in a dilapidated building. They bring that up. They create jobs through the coffee shop. They actually increase sales tax to the community. And then they've got an anchor point of actual like beam of light, if you will, right? So entrepreneurs are actually the ones that see the opportunity, fix it. And then when they get to a scale point, every person has this in small businesses that they need capital. And typically, once they get to that point, that's where some outside company comes in, provides the capital, the entrepreneur gets divested, and they go on to something else. And I think the piece that I'm so tied into entrepreneurial impact and why we started that podcast is that it empowers people. And one of the best things about an entrepreneurship is the empowerment of feeling that I did this, I accomplished this, and the confidence that comes from that. And when you can build confidence on this thing, you can then take risks on other things to build other ventures and really create the change that anybody that's been in corporate America gets tied up with red tape. And you're like, I got in here to make an impact. I didn't get up here to deal with some politics and some nonsense. And I think that's what is so beautiful about real estate agents and everything around that. Is all small businesses that are really committed to their community and how that can be a positive change for the future.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a lot of the similar tones, but also I love the emotional side of it too, right? We learn about not just who are they impacting and pouring into their community and their teams, but learning where they came from. Who was involved in their growth. Not everybody was an entrepreneur. Not everybody started as an entrepreneur. A lot of them came from former military, which is, if you watched a lot of the podcasts, you see like 2/3 of them are former military. So that drive and that success. But they didn't all have entrepreneurs in their family to start, but it was a regimented routine for them that gave them the conscious ability to drive forward and know that they could do more. So hearing all of those stories, that's what I love about it.
We had a really cool kid come into he's probably 20. I'm older now, so I can say kid.
All right.
He came into the office yesterday. And he brought his mentor, and they lead a young entrepreneurs group here locally in Reston. And he had a really cool story. His name's Joe Degby. He played football locally here at South Lakes, got into music, started producing his own music, started doing some videos and some social media and things like that. And he lives out in LA now, but he comes back and started this group for, I think they're doing like 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and they do it here in the Market Center just to mentor these young folks that want to start their own businesses or have an interest in media or video and things like that. So I thought it was really, really cool that this young guy, is coming in and he wants to give back to the community. I think it's really, really important because there is such thing as like alternative education, right? So you don't get certain things through traditional education. You learn your math and your social studies and chemistry and things like that. But learning how to start a business, learning what business financial looks like, how to market, like that's not typically always provided in a public school setting. So it was really, really cool to hear his story and just see that the younger guys are coming back to show other folks, that it is possible to do this. You can make it. I mean, obviously, it takes a lot of hard work, but it was really cool to see that story.
That's awesome, especially from an early age. Like you need a team around you for sure to get where you want to go. Right. And I think a lot of people have been really successful, and they've written it down in books. Right. Like I was watching like a Jim Rohn, like old school Jim Rohn thing the other day, and he was like, this was 70 years ago. He was like, successful people have written it down in a book. The crazy thing is no one picks up and reads it, right? So to your point, I love hearing about things like that. The podcasts, whether it be the Onward, these guys over here with entrepreneurial, those are the types of things that you should be digging into, listening to, and plugging into because there's great information out there. And so it always blows me away. So I love to hear that young people are out there digging, getting together as a group, and working through those problems, because that's what it takes. It takes a team.
Yeah. What are you guys seeing out there, whether it be, starting a real estate business or just, starting your own business out there? What advice would you guys give to younger guys, or even, people that are our age, and they want to, start their own business? What kind of advice would you give to them, today?
I think it's a great question. I think that I was doing I had the pleasure of going on vacation with my family and then catching COVID and being locked down with my in-laws for 10 days. I'll let you guys fill that one in, right?
Yeah.
And in that time, because you've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and you're just kind of like, okay, we're just going to wade through this. I was thinking to myself that I think when you get into a small business or being your own boss, like, you should really look at what would you do for free. Right? What would you do every day? And if you didn't get paid, you were fulfilled and excited and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's what you got to go towards, right? That if you're going to start something new as an entrepreneur, what are you really passionate about? What fills your bucket? What gives you a ton of energy that you would do whether or not you got paid or not? And then go do that, because there's so much. The people that are successful entrepreneurs, they make it look easy, but they've got 10 to 15 years of struggle and grit, and you don't see that, right? And if you truly love what you're doing and you've got a passion for it, like, all those bumps and things are just, they're just, nonsense, and you'll get through them. But if you've got that type of passion, you really enjoy what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. That's the filling of the bucket. That's the thing that keeps you going. And I think that's what people need to see, is that you're going to be such your own venture. Do something you love, and the rest will come.
You're starting your own business right now. What would you tell, the young guys, or even, people our own age?
Yes.
What would you tell them?
Yeah, and following up on what Joe was saying, obviously the passion is first and foremost, but you gotta have unrelentless drive, right? You gotta want to succeed and win, because you're gonna fail forward, and it's gonna happen multiple times, right? But you gotta be okay with that. You can't be knocked down. You gotta be organized, and you gotta be structured. But you have to listen to the others that have been there too. You do your research, listen to the podcast, see the videos, seek out counsel, right? I think one of the most powerful things somebody ever said to me, whether it was Gary or somebody else, is like, surround yourself with others who have done it, right? So don't try to reinvent the wheel, even though you may be coming up with a new concept or product, but business is business, and there's a way to do things. So do it smart and do it efficient, and leverage today's tools that maybe weren't around 10, 15, or 30 years ago.
Right. That's really good.
Like, when you start a business, it's not easy. Right, most of the time there are challenges. Dave just said fail forward is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And so you can absolutely get to where you want to be, but you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right. There's a lot of things being a business owner that you wish you had your Saturdays and Sundays off. Right. Like, you're trying to compare yourself to other people in certain jobs, and you're going to sacrifice certain things. But there is obviously a clear upside that a lot of us are going towards as well. And so staying focused, and I think Dave just mentioned it as well. There's certain things that need to be priorities, and I would say that's the biggest one. Is there's a lot you don't know, which is fine, but you can't be stalled by that fear. And I think by seeking out mentors or learning, figure out what are the first steps, and then execute on those things. Because there's always going to be a list of 100 things to do. There's probably 2 of them that actually move that business forward, and so it might be the toughest task of the 100. But you need to go do those 2 things, and that's what's eventually going to get you to where you're going to go.
I think understanding the concept of the commitment of starting your own business too.
Yeah.
Joe, you have to remind me the name of the book that we're reading right now. But in the book, they were going through some struggles with their family, going public, and a couple other challenges that they had for a new company. But they had asked a commitment from all the employees to say, look, we're going to have to do this for the next 6 months. But everybody bought in, which meant limited family time, 10 to 14 hours a day. But what does those type of impacts have on your personal life and your family life? And is everybody okay with that? Right? So commitment from all people, not just yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's where the importance of podcasts in general, the one we're trying to put together, the one that you guys have going, is there's such a wealth of knowledge out there, and just knowledge is so easily accessible now, right? So even when I was growing up and when I was in high school, you didn't have access to professionals that do it on a day-to-day basis the way you do now. So I like that everybody's starting to put things together where we're able to give back to professionals in our own industry, and back to the young guys. So I appreciate you guys joining us today and give us a little bit of insight about you guys and what you're doing, and kind of a little bit of insight into the real estate market and Keller Williams, and why we all have chosen to be in business with Keller Williams. And I appreciate you guys coming by today and talking with us about everything you guys have been going on in your world and your podcast and Keller Williams in general, and why we choose to be in business with Keller Williams. So I appreciate you guys coming by.
Yeah, of course, man. Have a blast today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.